Hello, everyone. Welcome to November after the close. This month, we have our good friend Thomas back with us again. Thomas, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. So the public has spoken, our fans have spoken, and they've asked for a bit of a formatting change. So I think we're going to try something new for going forward. I think we are going to have you, Thomas, or maybe one or two other recurring people on much more frequently, along with some other guests to create a little bit different vibe, a little bit more robust vibe. We've had multiple people on in the past. We've had you on a few times. So now we're going to try to combine the two popular ideas, and we'll try to have you here a lot more often to give your thoughts, your wisdom, your opinions, I mean, we really just want to hear what this man has to say with all of his wisdom and his knowledge.
Finally, I have a platform. This is exactly what I've been waiting for my whole life, a platform to unleash my wisdom.
Unleash your wisdom. I mean, you probably could have had a platform anytime you wanted. We're not exactly living in the Stone Age, but yes, now you have the platform that you so speak of.
All right, well, where to begin?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, man, I've been so busy lately with just trying to get things, just trying to keep my head above water that it's been a challenge. Yeah, it's been rough. The house projects, new job. It's been intense. This new job has been really intense. It's been very difficult transition. So yeah, when you
Oh,
lose
because you used to
lose,
live in a house and now you live in a tent.
yes, I live in a tent in the backyard because that's just
Okay. In this
the
new
only place I
form,
can get some
in
sleep.
this new format, we're gonna get a little whiteboard and start ticking off dad jokes that we just
Oh,
kind
that's a
of
good idea.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, we'll have to get a counter. You know, the dad joke counter.
It'll be like a
Speaking
big,
of
it'll be like go
jokes,
ding, ding, ding.
so in the last month or so, the new thing in our house is jokes. So like our oldest is starting to get the concept of like a joke.
Okay.
So every
And
day,
how old is it?
four. How old is
Four.
it? My yeah. So I'm a 4 year old.
Yeah.
So she's
Yes.
so every day I'd come home from work and she'd say, did you come home with a joke? So
Okay.
that was my homework every day. So I had an alarm set on my phone at 4:40 every day to get a joke.
You like Google for a joke that a 4-year-old
Well,
would like.
I'd sit there for two seconds and think of it. So with October, the last month or whatever, Halloween jokes were like the soup du jour, and
Sure.
and there's a lot of kid Halloween jokes out there. So that was the thing. So some of them were good, some of them were mediocre, but now we're moving on into Thanksgiving jokes. So that's the new genre,
New
the new
genre.
repertoire, new
Okay.
genre of jokes. So what side of a turkey has the most feathers?
What side of a turkey has the most feathers?
The
The
outside.
Ah, you son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Ah, you son of a bitch.
yeah. So
Ding.
that's exactly tick. Yeah. So yeah, and
Is
then
your now
my
is your daughter is she can she tell a joke? Can she like pitch a joke
she
or is she gonna be
we're
like
we're working on it. She's got like a 25% hit rate.
okay,
Yeah. So
fair enough. Fair
she
enough.
likes to make up her own questions, and then my thing is to try to come up with an answer that is a joke format of her questions. Like
I
so
see.
she'll start a joke and then she doesn't really have a punchline, and then I'll just try to come up with a punchline on the fly. And a lot of her jokes are, what did the whatever say to the whatever?
Okay.
Because that was what some of the jokes were. So it was like oh she's I don't know, that's just the format she stuck with or whatever, so that's just what it is. So it's always like, what did the watermelon say to the cup? It's like, all right, I don't know. Like
What did the watermelon say to the cup?
I don't know. That one, that's a stumper. I don't know. I can't think of a good punchline for that. But she'll come up with the premise, and I got to come up with the punchline, which is the hard part. So
Well, how about this one? So what weighs 3 ounces sits in a tree and is very dangerous?
Sparrow's machine gun, of course,
Sparrow with a machine gun, of course. That's
of
what's
course.
that from?
Oh, the Batman movie.
Batman 66, the movie, which was a
Yeah,
very
well, I guess that's called the Batman, right? I mean, well, I guess there's other ones now, but that was just the newest one was just called Batman, I think, right? And then
oh the one with what Pattinson?
yeah,
I don't know. That's a good question.
yeah, I think it was just
I
called
forget if it
Batman.
was the Batman. I think yes, but the one I'm referring to is the old Adam West Batman, which
Yeah,
is
Adam West. Yeah,
that was the best one.
yeah. Well. I don't know if that's the best one, but that's a one.
No, it's the best one.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that was
It,
all Adam West. None of that CGI stuff.
that's true. Well, they did have some pows and lambs
That's
that
true.
came
They
in.
did have that.
So there was some I don't know. I don't even know what you call that. I guess animation. I don't know. Yeah,
Oh, well, the stuff that they throw up on the
yeah, when
screen.
they bam, wow,
Well, it's like
bang,
onomatopoeia. There's the noises, but the
whack.
what is the actual? I don't know. It's just the CGI images. I don't know.
Yeah, well, so yeah, there was CGI. It was
Fair enough.
yeah.
That was
So
a good
yeah.
one we liked to watch as a kid. My kids are are good at they have comedic timing, but not
Hmm.
necessarily good joke telling.
Oh, okay.
So my kids might be able to like drop a comment at
Hmm.
just the right time and it would be
Right,
just the right thing, which is actually very funny to hear. But
right.
they wouldn't be able to do a general setup punchline joke, especially one that's like a knock knock joke. They're just gonna flub.
Yeah, well, that's just normal kid stuff, and like you said, like yeah, like the kid will just throw a one liner out there, and it just catches you off guard, and it's like, oh man, you know, and you wonder where they got those things. So my father-in-law, was hanging out with Emily one time, and there was a motorcycle going by, and then he must have said something about the motorcycle. So then days later, my wife was taking her in the car, and a motorcycle went by. So then Emily just says, "Coming in hot."
Good for her.
Yeah, she's it's just that's a good little just quip that they just throw in there wherever they get it from. And
That's
coming out of a 4-year-old, it's hilarious. So
just a good line. Just a good line to have in your pocket. You gotta have a
yeah,
couple arrows in your quiver, even when you're
yeah,
4 years old.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
we're recording this. So we're recording this we're recording this after Halloween, before the election, but it will publish after the election. Expiration Friday is the 15th, so we're publishing here on the 15th. But
I can't believe one.
yeah, it's like, can you believe that thing happened? Oh my God, that thing that
Yeah,
happened
yeah. That thing that happened on that state,
with the voting.
with the voting. Oh, jeez, the voting. How about it? Do you have early voting where you are?
Do we have really? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, I mean, we're in a swing state, which is very different. Like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to
So,
like name names and talk politics so much on this sort of thing here.
well,
But
no, keeping it, but so am I. I'm also in a very contested swing state. So,
that is true.
like,
You're in Pennsylvania and I'm in North Carolina, so we have very and we
yeah,
both grew up in New Jersey,
correct.
which is anything but a swing state.
No,
That is a machinery state, which
yeah,
they have everything. They have all their ducks in a row, and then they steal the ducks.
that's true. That's, yeah, that's true. Well, so every presidential election that I've been eligible to vote for, I voted in Pennsylvania because when I was in college, I turned 18, and that was the first year that Obama was running. So there was a big push on campus to like register to vote and like do all that stuff.
They
And
have that every
because
4 years everywhere.
Well, right,
Yeah,
but because Pennsylvania was like there was like news that like Northampton County specifically was going to be one of the biggest counties of like because there's so many out of state people from colleges there. They're really pushing to like register and get those votes in. So I registered to vote in Pennsylvania. Like so, I've only been registered in Pennsylvania, and every election
oh,
I
okay.
voted in Pennsylvania. So
I
that's
voted in
that's a,
Pennsylvania once. I had one election. I was living there and I was registered. I voted in Pennsylvania.
it's probably the same election that I was in. This is probably '08.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, well, you graduated in '09, so it must have been '08, right?
Mm, yes, I voted in '08. That was my first presidential election.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a pain because the line was crazy.
So you had a big line, you'd do all that crap?
Well, back in I'm talking about the one in '08, but
Oh, okay.
so of recent years though, like I've done a mail-in ballot.
What's that?
I've done a mail-in ballot.
Oh, you did a mail-in ballot. All right, fine. Because
Yeah.
you can't make it the 10 minutes to the spot?
Well, it's just easier. It's just easier just to do it and just get it in and get the vote in. Doesn't matter. I mean,
Got it.
rather than because like you don't really know what you're going to get on that Tuesday morning. Like if I got to get to work. So when I used to live in an apartment complex, I could literally see the polling station from my front, like my window of my apartment complex, and I could see how long the line was. So so I could judge it. And if I have to get to
Wow, what a
work,
perk.
yeah, when it was freezing cold out, I didn't have to wait in a line. I could just like kind of judge it. But then,
I
having
understand.
to get to work and a pain in the butt, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to risk it not being able to vote, like if I get caught up in work or get stuck late there and not being able to vote. So, and on the front side of it, if the line is too long and I'm gonna be late for work, well, that's a problem. So let me just get the vote in and not worry about it.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me is the political advertising that comes on.
Oh
I mean,
God, it's so
oh my
annoying.
God, it's just incessant. It's been going on for like
Oh
2, 3 months. It's just
yeah,
on. It's just white noise at this point. Such a
it's so
waste of
ridiculous.
money because you just drown it out.
Oh yeah. Well, so I'm in a fantasy football league and there's a big group chat and they were talking. So everybody's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, in the thing, and they're all watching the Eagles game. So they're all talking about the political advertisements during the game, and I was like, "What? You guys don't change your political position based on biased information presented at a sporting event? That's not how you guys roll. No, that's oh man, yeah, jeez. That's how I pick my winners. That's how I pick how I vote for.
What's
Is
interesting
how many
about
yard signs do I see?
the yard signs are funny. Are you allowed to put yard signs up in your development?
Yeah, there's no rules where I live. It's
There's no
like
rules. It's
I'm
fucking
not like an
chaos
HOA.
in Pennsylvania. Cats and
Well,
dogs living together.
I'm not an HOA or anything like that. So my neighborhood has been around since the 70s. So there's no rules like that I have to abide by, just the township rules.
It's,
Uh,
it's, it's you sound your neighborhood sounds like an old car who only has to meet like emission standards of the year it was created. It's like, oh, well, we
yeah,
have
well,
to
yeah, yeah.
follow
There,
laws passed up to
there's no sidewalks.
1973.
There's no street lights. There's no the standards are from the 70s. Like there's no. It doesn't matter. You can do literally pretty much whatever you want.
Shooting off guns and just like going to town.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a nice neighborhood though. Trick or treating was nice.
So I'm in the opposite scenario. They have an HOA and they're kind of like it's a cliche, like middle class fancy style, like they're gonna
Yeah,
crack skulls if you don't, have your
yeah.
lawn mowed.
Oh yeah. See, that's a bummer.
Like that sort of stuff. So we got to make sure all that gets done. And part of it is they set rules for all of the political advertising you're allowed to do, which is
Uh,
none. Like they don't
oh
like
really?
they don't there's nobody up. Nobody has any signs in our entire neighborhood. It's just not they just say
That's
like no.
not a thing.
There's
Yeah.
like I think they have like a very, very short period where they will let you do it. Like you can do it like on election day,
Hmm.
you can put a
It's not.
sign out to let,
It's not worth it. Yeah, it's
but
just
then it
stupid.
has
Yeah.
to be down like within 24 hours. It's very, very, very strict because they just don't want. I get it though because it's like we all have a financial invested interest in it. So like, why are we gonna like argue with each other?
Right. Yeah.
We all pay the HOA dues. We
Right.
all have the same like
Yeah.
facilities dues in the neighborhood. Why are we gonna start like nobody needs their house to be egged because they put a sign up? Like that's really what
Right.
it is.
Yeah. I will say though that like in 2020 when that election was going on, there was a significant amount more signs everywhere around where I live, and I think that was a product of the fact that everybody was just bored and they had nothing better to do.
Yeah, they're all stuck
So
inside during COVID. So like, no, I have to go outside to put up my sign.
right, exactly, and so like there was just an absurd amount of political signs in 2020, and I will say that I think this year, like yeah, there's been a lot of political advertisements and mailers and like people canvassing and like going door to door and stuff like that, but the amount of political signage is there, but it's not as drastic as it was 4 years ago.
Okay.
Like somebody might have like a small sign in their front yard, but
Right.
compared to 2020, there was like massive signs everywhere and massive amounts of things. Just it was just crazy, and because everybody literally had nothing to do 4 years ago. So that was kind of nice, where it was like, oh, this isn't as crazy, but you
I'm
know,
shocked that to be so like as somebody who I'm in banking in Wall Street and I have kids and I'm busy and I have all sorts of shit I got to do all day. I'm constantly amazed the time people find to go out and like protest for stuff or go support
oh
stuff.
yeah,
They're like, where the fuck? Don't you have a job? And it's like maybe they don't have a job, which is what they're complaining about, which might be a fair point. I've been there too.
yeah,
Like if it were like 3 days before the election and they were gonna pay me $50 to like stick things in like mailboxes, I would
right,
totally do it if I were unemployed. I would absolutely
yeah.
do
It
it. Wouldn't think
gives you
twice
something to
about
do
it.
every day. You get a little spending
A little
cash,
exercise, get a little cash, why not,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right,
Um,
yeah,
but generally speaking, the people who are really like out there doing all that stuff, like I'm talking about like, the people who are just volunteering, quote
yeah,
unquote, and really they're just like looking to cause like they're just showing up to protest something for the hell of it.
yeah.
Like those people, like what are you doing all day? I always wonder that. I know I sound like the
I
old
don't
man
know.
when I say that, but it's like, what are you doing all day? Like,
I don't know.
this is the
Yeah,
best thing you have going for you. And it's like,
yeah, seriously. That's the thing. I don't understand how people have so much time on their hands. Like,
right. It's like,
good for them.
like it's teach their own, but
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, but I still can't believe that happened on election night. Like,
Oh my gosh, the thing that the
like
guy.
I've I've never seen a political candidate moon the camera. Oh my
Yeah, right.
God.
Well, That's not out of the question.
Yeah,
Oh man.
there would just be like 24 hours of that, and then you'd move on.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be crazy. But yeah.
But
So I know this is coming out in like November, but so did you have trick or treat in your neighborhood?
oh yes, yeah, we're big trick or treating in the development. It's
So
it's
is
highly coordinated, sophisticated. People have like a nose for what we're gonna what it should be and what's like
oh,
considered a faux
nice.
pas. Yes,
Okay.
it's very
Yeah.
well like self.
So is that on Halloween night?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hanging out with some of the other like dads in the neighborhood
Right.
uh on Halloween, and all of us kind of lamented at the fact by the time Halloween rolled around, it was
Mhm.
like the fourth, fifth event. It's like, oh, we
Right.
have the elementary school has trunk or treat, the
Mhm.
daycare has trunk or treat, the neighborhood has like a little block party. Then
Right.
it's like you can, and then maybe you have, it's like, oh, wear your Halloween costume to dance class, wear your
Yep.
Halloween costume to whatever the
We did
fuck.
that.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, now it's like Thursday evening and
Right.
we're all like shot. And it's like the costume's already ratty because she's worn it 5 times. Now
Right.
we're gonna go out and do trick-or-treating. It's like, come
Right.
on. It's like it's slowly Christmasizing Halloween where it's suddenly dragging out to be like the entire
Yeah.
month.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right on that. That does ring a bell. Like, and now that I think about it, yeah, like we by the time that Thursday night rolled around, we had gone to one the previous night at some church, and then we had went to Dorney Park the Sunday before to do something there, and then like a parade was like the weekend before or something like that. So like, yeah, you
Fucking
just
go on the fucking hayride, you gotta go pick
right.
apples, you gotta
Well,
go
that's
get
yeah, and then we
pumpkins.
did
Like
that. We did
there's
that
like
the
it's the
prior
whole
week too.
it's a
Yeah,
month of festivities now is Halloween.
yeah. Went to the pumpkin patch and we did that. Yeah, that's the thing. You got to do it. You
You
got to do
carve
those things.
pumpkins?
No, we did not carve pumpkins. They
No.
painted pumpkins.
Mm.
So yeah,
I
we brought them
pers
outside.
I personally did not carve one this year, but my wife decided she would be the one to do that this year. So she got the stencil and she picked out the
Mm.
pumpkin and she like tried to do it with the kids, and I was just like, I'm getting the fuck out of this. I don't want to be involved at all because
Got to do
there's
it
no
freehand.
value I can add to the situation.
Did she break out the power tools? Did she get the drill and
No, we had the car. We had like the kit, like
uh,
the knife kit that lets you do it. But we didn't use any power tools and whatnot. She actually just complained to me today because we left the jack-o'-lanterns out in the backyard. Now bugs have started to eat it, and it's like
mm,
decomposing. And now
yeah,
that part, that's my job. That's my job to fix is the
yeah,
decomposing pumpkin. But she
yeah,
got to go out and carve it.
right, yeah. So, but I don't know. I'm glad Halloween's over because yeah, you're right. It's becoming a lot. It's becoming like every weekend you got something going on and you got something to do, which is fine, I guess. But man, it just by the time Halloween rolls around, you're like, all right, I'm over this. I'm so done. I'm so done with that.
Did you dress up?
No, I no, I should have, but I did not. I was very I've been very preoccupied with other things in my life, and it's just that was like it just slipped my. I was like, oh yeah, I should have done that, and I didn't do it. So, and that was a point of discussion with my elders. How come you're not dressing up? Well, sorry. Yeah, I definitely.
You always gotta have like one costume available. Like I wanted to play poker one night, and the guy just kind of said like, "Hey, we're gonna do like a Halloween theme. Wear a costume, you get like an extra like you're gonna give you a few extra chips, to play." So I just threw
Yeah.
on what I had on from last year, and that was the end of it. I just like showed.
Yeah, I mean, we have a Halloween a costume closet thing in the basement that I'm looking at, but like, I just didn't have it in me. I just did not have it in me to just to go down there and just pick something out and put something on. I just wasn't having it.
Fair
I was so
enough.
burnt out. I was just like, yeah, that's not happening.
Mm.
But but lesson learned for next year. I have to next year. I think is going to be more of a concerted effort to do like a family thing.
So we do the
Like,
family thing every year.
yeah,
We enter into the family Halloween competition each year, And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, each year we take it a little more seriously than the year before.
Yeah.
So we mean business with that. So
Well,
we
now you've
actually
got.
we lost this year, and we were so goddamn bitter. Like
Oh wow.
it was actually like let's take a step back and put this in context. Like it's not
Mm,
that big of a deal that we didn't win this
yeah.
competition, but
Yeah.
we were ready to go. We were really trying. We were the Descendants, and if you have little girls, you know what the Descendants are.
Yeah. You mentioned that, and that's not really big in our house.
Well,
Not
you're
something
maybe
that's.
a little too. When I say you have little girls, I really am talking like between 6 to 9 years old. That
Yeah,
range.
we're
That's
not
really
at
where
that point
that's the bread and butter for the Descendants franchises these days. But bottom line, the Descendants are Disney, a series of Disney movies. There've been 4 movies and a couple of short films, and then a big cartoon that's on Disney Plus and all about them, and all the other merch that Disney pumps out. And if you think of all of the characters from classic Disney animated films like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, Cinderella, all those, the films are about their children. So they're
Oh, that makes sense. That's
so
cool.
it's like Beauty and the Beast. Belle and Beast had a kid, and that kid is now the prince. You know.
How'd that go? Is he like Teen Wolf?
You know what? Not to give it away, but there is a scene where he gets enchanted and he
Ah, I see. I
yeah,
see. Yeah,
yeah.
he goes through the change.
He goes through the change, yes. So yeah. Anyway, but Descendants is catnip for like 8-year-old girls because it's like very like it's very girl power. It's music, so it's like for us, our generation, we had like Newsies.
That's a correct comparison. Newsies to Disney. No, that's not. That's
First of all, Newsies was by Disney.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I
Second
know
of
it's
all, it
by,
was starring Christian
but Newsies
Bale.
wasn't the cultural phenomenon that you're making it out to be.
It was in my head.
Yeah, of course it was in your head, but no, not
Or
in the
maybe
real
like High
world.
School Musical. How about High School Musical? That's probably
That's
better.
probably closer. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
closer. Yeah,
That's
that's
probably
yeah,
closer to what it actually ends up being. Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, it's catnip to little 8-year-old girls, so they watch
Mm,
it, and
yeah.
they're all into it. So we went as the characters from Descendants for Halloween. That was our
Mm.
jam. So I was Hades, and my wife was Maleficent, which we our
Oh,
costumes were quite well done, I gotta say.
nice. Mm.
Like and when I say I'm Hades, it means like from Disney's Hercules. Like I think the
Yeah,
blue
yeah, yeah.
hair and stuff. Yeah,
God, who's that guy's voice? Who is the voice of that? That
James
was
Woods.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good that movie makes this rotation in our house.
Does
Emily
it?
likes to watch. Yeah, it does. Emily likes to turn that on now and then. Yeah, she's good. She goes through a decent like repertoire of movies. Like she'll turn on some different ones and some older ones, which is
Older
good.
ones. You know what I had watch? You know what I had watch? Uh, we
Newsies? Did you watch Newsies?
I wish I would watch Newsies. If I'm up late at night and I'm scrolling through like Pluto TV or something, and I see like cult films or something really like
Oh
wild
yeah,
out there,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm in.
Hmm.
But my 4-year-old was looking for something new, and I was looking for something, so I put on the Robin Hood Disney animated one,
Oh
which is from like the 70s, the same time your development was put together. And
yeah, I love that movie. That's a good movie.
that's a great one. We watched that when we were growing up too. So she watched it and she got into it. And I was like, well, I was watching it as an adult. I probably hadn't seen it in like 20, 25 years. And I realized that some of the jokes are actually a little bit lewd if you can read
Oh yeah, yeah,
lines.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it was one of those
Yeah,
moments. And you're like, oh, like it's not that bad. Like it wasn't
yeah.
like, you know,
No,
overtly
yeah,
sexual or anything,
yeah.
but there were some definitely like euphemisms that were thrown in
Oh
there,
yeah,
which I
yeah,
never
yeah,
really
yeah.
had noticed before, which is fine.
That one is good. Like that one's pretty funny. Like there are some things in there that'll catch you off guard, and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. Mm.
Yeah,
Like
I did a Substack with them like shortly thereafter.
right.
I had it was about the when I did the child tax credit Substack post, I did it to Robin Hood from robbing the rich to feed the poor.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So that was probably right around the time I had watched it with the kid. Because a lot of them are good for like context of what was
Right.
like considered appropriate in like
Yeah.
that
Oh,
time, you know? Like you watch like
so
some of them and you're just like some of it was
so
rough.
yeah.
Especially you
Well,
go back to like the 50s. It's like, oh, some of this
oh
is
my God, yeah. Well, that's the thing. So Emily, she'll turn on. She wanted to watch Cinderella, and that was from like '48.
Came out in 48. Okay, whatever it
Yeah,
was. Like I thought it was
yeah,
like something right around
1948.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great, and you're watching it like, oh boy, oh boy, this is okay. Yeah, that's
Jungle
something.
Book was a bad one, I remember.
Jungle Book, and I don't know if Disney Plus still has it, but they have like disclaimers before them where
Yeah,
it's like,
but come on.
this does not represent the whatever. I think that's before Aladdin too, because they portray
They probably just
certain.
throw it up in front of every single one to cover their bases.
No, it's definitely like picked out for certain things that are portraying certain groups a certain way, and they basically like said like, this is definitely not how we this is a reflection of like the time or whatever. I forgot exactly how they worded it, but it was funny to turn that on and it was like, oh yeah, hey, that's pretty funny that they have
We're
to.
trying to like tiptoe around it and whatnot. Walt Disney and the early Disney executives are anti-Semitic and a little bit
Yeah,
racist. That's what it boils
yeah,
down to.
yeah,
It's not like a known fact. Like he and Henry Ford used to like hang out and like
yeah,
bash other people. But
yeah.
these days, yeah, that does not fly so much. But it's still good to watch them. It's still entertaining. Like some of the jokes are
Well,
still very funny and some of the songs are still very catchy. Even if you go
oh,
back to
oh
like
yeah,
some of the like yeah, Jungle Book was from the 60s. We watched Robin Hood, that was from the 70s. The 80s ones kind of sucked. I can't even think of good ones from the 80s.
no, like the '90s was when like things started to pick up again
Little
because like the
Mermaid came
Lion
out in
King
like
came in.
89. That was like the resurgence because there's a lot of good
Right.
documentaries on like the Disney and the waves it's gone through. Like, yeah. A lot of like,
Yeah,
History Channel stuff, like how Disney built America is like a whole thing that's on History Channel now,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I don't know, we got to get them to like sponsor this goddamn podcast. I like
Yeah,
talking
right. I mean,
about
all
this
those. Yeah, you're getting really into history there, Yeah, but
show.
uh, but you bring up a good point when watching those old shows. So like the one thing that we have been doing is, you're looking for something new, and I'm doing air quotes for new, but new to them, not necessarily new.
Right.
So we started watching Full House.
Oh, don't get me started. Yes.
So that's like what. So we'll watch like an episode of Full House because it was a TGIF show and
You
it's
know what it
family
is.
friendly. Yeah, we like I remember basically all the episodes and it's family friendly ish, but that started in the 80s.
Yes.
So like in the late 80s, early 90s, television was a lot different. And like the show is still fine, but some of the content and some of the episodes is like, huh, yeah, let's vet that a little bit. So like the one and my kids are still pretty young and they're very like impressionable. And the one was there's a couple they cover a couple heavy topics. Um, like
Like
the
when
latest
Jesse
one was
Spano was taking caffeine pills and in Saved by the Bell.
kind of so like well the one that just happened was DJ was at a dance and she's like 12 or 13. She's like in eighth grade or whatever.
Boy
And
spills beer on her and Jesse smells it.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And that
Yeah.
was like
I was like,
but then like the one before that was like Jesse was called Dr. Dare, and Scott Baio uh, came back, and he was his old buddy, and he's like, "Oh, you can't keep up with me for the weekend." And then he like goes and he wants to go ride his motorcycle on the edge of a parking garage.
right.
It's like, all right, yeah. I mean, like that's weird, but like I don't want to. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, she already does enough things that are kind of like on the edge. I don't need her pretending to be Jesse Katsopoulos,
You think your
trying to
four-year-old
ride.
daughter is going to kick her motorcycle and put it on the ledge of a
Well, no,
parking
but
lot?
she'll definitely want to ride her bike on something that is
Uh,
not like on a curb or something, and then she'll fall off it, and I'm like, I got to deal with that. I'm like, I don't need to deal with that. Let's just pass that and not move on. And then there's a couple other things in there that are like, and like she just has questions about things that are going on in the show because like DJ got a phone, and so
what
in
is
her room.
that?
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, like what's the phone going on in the room? And then there was another one where Stephanie drove a car through the kitchen. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember that one. So like she drove a car through the kitchen and like nobody heard the car going through the kitchen. Like there were people upstairs and they just like ignored it. And then the next episode, kitchen magically fixed.
They have good insurance in San Francisco.
Yeah, I guess, in
So,
San Francisco they must have good insurance.
so we went through a Full House phase as well, and it was probably about the same time my girls were your girls' ages. And interestingly enough, I'll repost it. Is if you go back and look at like the genesis of this entire like Trader Dads, I lay out that like the diff like there's a cool trader dude which represents the trader side, and then there's a full house dad which represents the
Mhm.
dad side, and I have it all
Yeah,
laid out as into my little manifesto, and I talk about it how like there's a lot of good like points in that show. Did you watch the sequel show on Netflix?
Fuller House. I watched the first season a little bit. Like my wife watched it,
Okay.
just because but
My
I'm
my
sure
kids
that'll
have gone through
happen
both
later.
series multiple times. Like they'll just
Yeah,
binge it. They'll just have it
yeah,
on and like
yeah.
we've gone back. I've had it on in the background. We're in Modern Family right now. That's what we're doing these days.
I,
And
I'm I'm
we all
personally
have
in the
crap
middle of
cuss.
Modern Family. I'm
Hmm?
on like season 9 of Modern Family because that's another thing where I can just pop that on and be like, all right, like there's nothing going to be weird in this show that I have to worry about. That I can have it around with kids and whatever. It's not a big deal. Or it's just
Or if it
you can
is,
shut your brain off and watch it.
it's so like PG-13 or like
Yeah.
it's like innuendo. It's because it's
Well,
network
it's
television.
network TV, so like it's fine. It's on public cable. So, but yeah, but that's a nice show where you can just turn your head off and just watch it for 20
Yeah, that's
minutes.
what those things are good for sure.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, but yeah, Modern Family was one that like I never watched when it was on, and I just started. I was like, well, I'm going to start this and just casually watch it, and I've just been casually going through it, and I'm almost through the whole series, which is kind of nice because like people reference those shows, and I just never caught them. So like, it's nice to understand if somebody makes a reference.
There are
That one
certain
not so
things
much, but
there are certain things that I like appreciate as like a medium and
mm,
other things that I don't. So for example, I actually don't really like comic books. Like to read a comic book gives me a headache. I have no interest in reading. Never really did. Never like really liked reading comic books.
that's like a learned, not a learned skill, but like it takes some getting used to. So like I read The Watchmen, and that
Yeah.
took me a while to kind of get into the groove of reading that book.
I never will. I'm just it's never gonna happen. It's past maybe if I were like, 16 instead of, 30, so I may get
Right.
into it. But on the other hand, like a regular stand like a three camera sitcom, like a traditional
Yeah.
22-minute sitcom, I love them. Really respect it as like an art. Like I know like the tropes, the
Yeah.
ideas. It's like because you
Yeah.
can put them all into. You can say like, okay, it's like character A and character B get stuck in an X and have to resolve their differences. And you
Yeah.
see how they take that trope and put it in over and over and over again. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like oh they're stuck in an elevator, they're stuck in a meat locker, they're stuck
Hmm.
in like a garage, they're stuck
Yeah.
and it just goes on and on and on. And
Yeah.
they keep like
Yeah.
rehashing it, but to their credit, like try having a rigid structure and making something within the bounds of that. It's actually quite difficult. Like, people say these
Mhm.
days, when you look at prestige TV, you can look at, say, The Sopranos or, Boardwalk Empire or whatever it is now. It's like Euphoria or anything that was on like Weeds. It
Mhm.
goes on and on and on. All these prestige shows. The value of those was that you could kind of have them either be longer
Mhm.
or now on streaming, you can have them be different episode lengths, which is like even
Right.
better. So you can have like one episode be like 38 minutes, the next one's like 44 minutes because you need that extra 6 minute scene to really tell the story.
Right. Right.
Traditional network sitcoms, it's like you have 22
You have a
minutes.
runtime.
You have
Yeah.
like, and it's going to be this, and then you have to have like a cliffhanger at the commercial break, and then you have the
Mhm.
finale, and you
Yep.
watch like old Brady bunches, and it's like they have a problem, and then it's solved 22 minutes later,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
everyone goes home. Like
Yeah.
that's
It's a
it.
neat
And
wrapped up bow. Yeah. That is. You're right. That is an interesting thing where like you
it's
had to
like
wrap it up in 22 minutes every time. Yeah.
I would argue to write that within such strict boundaries is harder than saying I'm going to write like this great like Lost. Like you watch Lost and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know. I think they're different skill sets. I don't necessarily think one
They're
is
very
harder than the
different.
other. I think they're just different skill sets because so you brought up The Sopranos. I just started watching The Sopranos because
Oh,
everybody talks
you've
about
seen
this.
The Sopranos though.
No, never saw The
Never
Sopranos.
watched The Sopranos.
Never watched Sopranos. Never watched it. Never
Okay.
saw it. Never. And so I'm on season 1 and I just started it. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. The first episode that I watched the opening credits. I'm like, huh, I know where that is. I know where that is. I know where that is. Like that to me was kind of fun. But like I was so young when The Sopranos were on, and we didn't have HBO, so I never watched it, and I would never go back. So like I think it ended in like 2007, and like at that time I was like a senior in high school or whatever, and like I wasn't gonna go back and like streaming wasn't a thing really. Like I wasn't gonna go rent The Sopranos. You know, like I wasn't gonna go. Like it was kind of in that weird time where it's like DVDs of shows were big. Like you had to like buy the show or watch it or something. Like I wasn't gonna do that, so I just something I never watched. But so I'm into that now. And the reason I'm watching The Sopranos is because people always tout it as like one of the greatest shows that's ever been on television. And obviously, there's a lot of references to it, so I want to get those references and understand what people are talking about. But it, I I don't know how I'm going to feel about it because I think the timing of it is not. At the time, it was probably great, but now as time has gone on, I don't think it's going to be as good because so many other good TV shows have been out.
It's been watered down.
Yeah.
That's
So,
true. It's
so
also 25 years old. I
well,
mean,
right, yeah. So it started in '99. Yeah. So yeah. So that's that, and it's funny because like one of the opening scene or one of the
it's like,
scenes,
oh,
the
look, the
kid is
World Trade
playing.
Center.
Well,
Oh,
the World Trade, but the kid was
a
playing
lot of
like
9/11
the
jokes in this
N64,
podcast.
and that was like the cutting edge thing that he had. Like he had the N64 game out in 1999. That was a big deal,
There's a
and
good one in there's a good episode in season one where Pussy and I think what's his name? Paulie Walnuts. They're talking about stealing a truckload of Pokemon cards,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
fucking hilarious to like
yeah,
see.
yeah,
That was like big. That was like hot commodity in '99. It's like, oh, we're gonna steal this
yeah,
load of Pokemon cards. That was
yeah.
good stuff.
So I'm interested to see how The Sopranos compares to The Wire and Breaking Bad in terms of my level of enjoyment.
So you're inherently
Because
biased though, having grown up in North Jersey.
well, correct, but to be honest, I
They're
mean,
like,
yeah.
oh, they're going to Turtleback Zoo. It's like, oh, they're on the turnpike.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, but
you're like way into
I
it.
could
If
put
they
that
were in like
aside.
Bumblefuck, Iowa, being like,
I don't know. I could put that aside. I thought Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad were phenomenal. To be honest, I like Better Call Saul better than Breaking Bad, but that's
I only watched Breaking Bad, I never watched Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul. I think
I
is
had
better.
kids by the time Better Call Saul came on the air, I had kids. I had better shit to
Well,
do.
see, I would if you watched Breaking Bad, I would definitely recommend starting to watch Better Call Saul, and I think Better Call Saul was a better show than Breaking Bad,
It's
personally.
not gonna happen.
Mm.
I'm just
But
telling you right now.
have you ever watched The Wire?
No.
That's probably the greatest show that's ever been on television. That was really good. That was gripping. That was really that. After watching The Wire, there are so many shows that
I'm
came
gonna
out
sell
after.
crack in Baltimore after
Oh,
seeing The
good for you.
Wire.
Well, no, that's not as glamorous as they make it seem. But but
Not like The Sopranos, which really
yeah,
makes
not
you
like
want
The
to be a
Sopranos.
gangster.
But it was funny. Like there were things from The Wire that showed up in other television shows that I was like, oh, that came from The Wire. That I was like, oh, that
I
I was
see.
starting to connect
Mhm.
connect the dots, and I was so like the Wire. I'm not sure if The Wire did some of those things first, or if The Wire stole it from other things. But seeing when The Wire came out, and then seeing how other shows mimicked certain things in The Wire, I was like, oh wow, that kind of cheapens the show after it. It's like, oh yeah, you got to check it from The Wire.
Yeah. So to your point, long running shows that I have to devote, say, 100 hours to, right?
Mhm.
It's just never gonna happen.
Right.
It's just
Oh.
not. I just don't have that kind of time to give to something like that. So what I tend to do, and I've like posted like I'll go into like dad movies and stuff,
Mm.
dad action movies, dad whatever
Yeah.
movies, because to get like a 2 hour movie under my belt, that's very doable. Like I can put the kids to bed and then I can get out. I can watch like over 2 nights, like an hour one night, an hour the next night, and I can
Right.
like get a movie under my belt. So that's why I've had
Right.
like a forever ongoing quest of like I'm going back and watching like much more classic
Mm.
films that have come out,
Yeah.
either because they're popular or because they're well like accolade. They have high they won awards, whatever. And a lot of that is I'm finding this some of what you're saying where you can see where tropes developed. One item I do have on my bucket list, I want to go back and watch the original Twilight Zone because they're like famous for
Mm.
having developed a lot of that for
That
television.
I've watched a decent amount of Twilight Zone, and that show surprisingly still holds up.
I believe it does. Yes, I've seen some episodes, but I've ever like go back and watch all of them. And you're gonna see like because then there's other things down the road like The Simpsons, like Family
Right.
Guy, like other things
Right.
where they're like drawing off of it as inspiration. It's really
I
cool
have
to like
time now.
right. That's a good one. Like I'll say that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a lot of that like pop culture
Yeah.
phenomenon, which goes on.
Right.
It's a lot of what I look at the Substacks is like you have all the gifts in them and stuff, and it's because it's like okay, the demographic who was going to be reading this will get that joke.
Right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
exactly.
That's the
Yeah,
idea.
right. Yeah, it makes sense.
But
Yeah,
with the with movies and stuff, so I've gone back and gone through a lot of them. Like I went through a run where I watched a lot of Clint Eastwood's old stuff.
mm,
You know, and
what,
those
yeah,
things came out like around the time your development was put together back in the 70s.
yeah.
And one of the
My
interesting, like
side note,
Dirty
my next door
Harry.
neighbor kind of reminded me of Clint Eastwood.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he kind of looks
like
like him a little
Gran
bit.
Turismo Clint Eastwood, or
Yeah,
like
like Gran Turismo to Clint Eastwood.
get
Yes,
off
exactly.
my lawn.
Yeah, he's not.
Um,
He's much nicer, but he kind of has the same like look.
Got it. Got it. Well, one of the things about the Clint Eastwood movies, so they were in the 70s where he was either like Dirty Harry was like that. We grew up though a generation later where we would watch something like Lethal Weapon on
Mm,
cable. Like Lethal Weapon was on cable and be
right.
like, "Oh, cool, it's Lethal Weapon, let's watch it." So in Lethal Weapon there's the scene where Riggs handcuffs himself to the guy who's going to jump off the building and they jump into the airbag
Yeah.
underneath that the cops had set up. And at the time it was like this like over the top crazy like stunt for a movie. Like where I was like, "Oh my God, he jumped into the thing." What I did not know for years and years is actually it was an homage to a scene in Dirty Harry, which
Mm,
had come out like 15 years before. So in the reason he's called Dirty Harry is because they give him all the tough jobs, like they give him all the
yep.
dirty work to do in the department. So they call him in the scene he gets into a cherry picker, like like the cable repairman will use the cherry picker to get up and into the
Yeah.
yeah. So he has to get into that, and they lift him up to the top of the building that way, and he like just stands there and he chit chats with the guy who's on the ledge, and he offers him a cigarette, and it's very like 70s suave, cool scene. But then the guy gets into the cherry picker with him, and they come down. Like it's a very like plain vanilla ending.
Mm,
But for the 70s, it was like, oh, look at this guy. He's like giving him a cigarette. He's in a cherry picker. It's like this whole big scene. So then
right.
15 years later, when Lethal Weapon tried to do their own version of it, they're like, hold my beer, watch this. And then
Mm,
they do it
yeah.
like crazy over the top. It's
Yeah. Well, it's just the evolution
sense
of
of
it.
how all that stuff plays out. Like if you look through like movies over time.
Yeah. We should do. We should put together a list of movies, the Trader Dad movie list, and try to watch these movies. You
I
know.
had what I wanted to do actually when this was and there's like nothing on brand per se, it would just be fun to do. Like just do commentary on movies. Like just post the commentary.
Yeah, like Mystery
Um
3000, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
yes, like that exactly. Mystery Science
Yeah.
Theater 3000 style. I always thought
It's
that
like,
would be
okay,
fun.
everybody
It'd be
hit
a fun thing to
play
do.
now.
Yeah, that it has nothing to do with this particular brand though. Like it wouldn't work in that regard. It would just be like a fun thing to do. And you'd have to like
Yeah.
set up a whole parallel
Yeah.
chain for it, but that would be fun.
That would be fun. Called Movie Dads.
I don't know. As soon as TraderDad starts making money,
Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
yeah, I'll
But
spin it off.
yeah. But well, God, you brought something up. But yeah, you're talking about like watching like classic movies, and with all the streaming services now, I like to just browse through the streaming services to see if there are movies in there that like I've heard about that I've never actually watched, and I'll try to, if I'm putting the kids to bed or whatever, like I'll spend, if I'm just sitting there, I'll kind of just have it on and like have the subtitles on with no sound and just start like watching slash reading the movie. So
Right.
yeah, when my youngest was like a little baby, I watched Heat with
Love Heat.
with
Al
Pesci and
Pacino and Robert De
yeah, Al
Niro.
Pacino, and yeah. So I had never seen Heat, and I was like, oh man, and that was like surprising. I was like, oh, that's okay. Like I'm glad I watched it. Like the ending is good. But
He's
yeah, like
nuts.
movies like that, like movies that came out, I guess like in the '90s when I was like a little kid that like I never went back and watched. Like those are
Yes,
the
like
ones that
indie
like I'm catching.
movies. Like we missed the boat on something like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, but
We were too
that's
young to
so
watch
iconic
Pulp
that
Fiction
I
for the
made the time to
phenomenon that it
watch
was
that.
at the time.
Yeah. So like yeah, like the I guess I'd call them modern classics.
I don't know if
Like
you call them that. I think they are, but all right,
well,
sure.
I guess that's fine. I guess that's what they're called, modern classics. Is like those are the things that I would want to watch, like the things that everybody quote unquote has seen, but I might have missed the boat on. Like
Yeah, or maybe you know of the one famous scene that's because
right,
it's been like parodied so much. Like a lot of
right,
people have never seen The Godfather, but they
right,
like know the gist of The Godfather. They like know like in part two they know Fredo gets shot in a boat, and they know
right,
they know
Right.
the baptism scene at the end where he finishes all his business, like
Yes. We should
they
put a
know that.
you should put a timestamp in here and just put spoilers. you know,
Spoilers, the movie that came out 50 years ago.
yeah, it's hey, you never know, man. People we're talking about people that have never watched those movies.
That's true. That's a
So,
fair point.
but I definitely at a point I was trying to make a like a list of movies that I was like that I should have seen. Like I've never seen Casablanca. Um, I've never
Yeah,
seen like a lot
I
of
went
those.
back and watched. I've watched Casablanca
Yeah,
deliberately for the same reasons you're alluding to.
right, exactly, because like everybody, there was a time when that was such a cultural thing, but then over time, that's obviously gone away because it's gotten older and older and older and older. But new media will make references to that, specifically like The Simpsons. They do a really good job of referencing classic cinema and things like that. So like when we watch the cinema, like or watch Simpsons rather, like we would recognize, oh, that's a thing that we should probably know, but then we never actually went back and watched the thing, the original. you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
that's the thing.
you saw the episode of The Simpsons where they get the monorail before you ever knew what the Music Man was.
Correct. Yes.
That's like a way
Yes,
to
that's a good
frame
point.
it.
Yes, that is a good or Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr.
Right. Like
Zaius, Dr.
you
Zaius.
saw the episode of The Simpsons where they're mocking Planet of the Apes prior
Yeah.
to ever seeing Planet of the Apes.
Well, yeah, exactly. And
And you go,
that's the
no, no,
thing.
no,
Yeah.
no. It goes both ways because sometimes like there is the episode of The Simpsons say where they're on the houseboat and Sideshow Bob is going after Bart because he's out of prison.
Mm.
That's Cape Fear with Robert De Niro.
Right. Well, yeah. See, like I didn't know that.
Neither would I didn't know that till years later either, but
Right.
that's what
Like,
it is. So there's the scene where he's like grabs the bar and he has he's supposed to, like he
mm,
has like stuff that's originally from Cape Fear. That's what
right.
it's actually from.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you know, there and all these like cartoons and these writers are so in touch with media and movies and classic stuff that they write these scenes in the parameters of the show that they're writing in. Specifically, like The Simpsons and Family Guy, they'll
Rick
make
and Morty more recently has done some great
Rick
ones.
and Morty is another good example of that too. Yeah, they, that's
They
a
did
show,
like the
man.
training day
Did you
episode.
do you watch Rick and Morty?
I've watched most of it, yeah.
So like I watched like the first couple seasons, and then it just got so complex and convoluted that I'm like I'm out. I'm done. I can't keep up with this. I just don't know. Like after the McDonald's Szechuan sauce thing came out, I was like, all right, I don't like, okay, I'm out. I don't I love the show is fantastic, but I just don't have it in me to figure out what's going on. Like I can watch it for like what it is, but I really want to know what's happening. And like when I watch a show, I want to know what's happening. Like I want to see the continuity. And that show, you can't just I just can't keep up with it. It's too much. And they just got renewed for apparently like more seasons.
So
I
I
don't know
have
if you
no
heard that.
idea. I do find it
Yeah.
funny
Like,
that a cartoon show beat you.
oh yeah. Well, that I was thinking about that today, man. I am so dumb now. I can't handle much. I am so dumb. I think about things. Everything's getting so much harder. My brain is just turning into mush. It seems like it's so bad. I just have a hard time like figuring things out, and like it's getting bad. I don't know if it's just lack of sleep or if it's stress or what, but man, I'm really dumb. It's things are hard. Life is difficult.
Being an
Oh, it's bad.
adult with kids and a job is hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
Things are
yeah.
tough. I just, man, my brain is just turning into mush. I couldn't even think of a good thing for mush. Oh,
Can't
it's
even think of a
bad.
good thing. Okay. Well, you know what? You got to look at the bright side with that though, because the people who are doing it, the people that have jobs, they have and they're raising kids and whatnot, they are getting fewer and farther between because like the ongoing issue generally is less and less people are having kids because they agree it's
Yeah.
just like I don't
So,
know, fucking
so this is a good time. You know what I just watched because I had never seen it?
no what
Idiocracy.
what
Idiocracy.
I just it must have been running on cable. I watched Idiocracy not maybe a month ago,
I think it was well,
months ago
like
maybe.
it wasn't really. I don't know. It was. I think it was on HBO Max or whatever. But like it came up. But you know, tie it all together with the election and movies that I had never
I
watched
think maybe
because I
there were
was.
a few op-eds like saying that we are living in a real idiocracy.
Oh yeah,
I think
tons,
that's why.
tons
I
of.
think that's actually what happened. I think there were a couple of big op-eds that floated around the internet that were
Yeah,
comparing this election to idiocracy,
right.
and
Yeah,
then the streamers picked it up and started just showing it on their thumbnails, and people were clicking on it. I
yeah,
think that's
and
what
that was
happened.
when I was like, oh yeah, and I probably did see one of those articles like in the back of my head, and I was like, oh, I should probably watch this because I'd never seen it. So
Hmm.
it came out in like 2006, and it's man, that's funny. So I saw somebody was talking about product placement in movies or whatever, and they were saying that back in 2006, they said, what is the stupidest type of footwear we could find? And it was Crocs. So in the movie,
They're all wearing
they said
Crocs.
they're all wearing Crocs. Like this is ridiculous. And now all of a sudden,
Everybody wears Crocs.
like
That's a fair
Crocs are
point
everywhere.
with a lot of stuff that goes on these days, like remote work or just general casualness. Like some people, my wife's pet peeve is when she sees one of the neighbors go to pick up their kids at the bus stop, and it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they still have their pajamas on. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's everyone's preference, whatever.
That's not gonna bother me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I wore pajamas a lot when I'm working from home. Like, it's fine.
Some days it's just what you got to do.
Yeah, well, because it's one of those things where, I get everybody off and out the door, and then I just log right in. I just go upstairs and log right in, and I get wrapped up in what I'm doing, and then I just, by the time it's 2 o'clock, I'm like, oh crap, I'm still sitting in it. you
No,
know,
I get it. That's what happens. It's
yeah,
sometimes you just got to take a day where you're wearing your pajamas all day.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was, but yeah, Idiocracy was there was some pretty funny moments in there. I was the cast of that movie. I didn't catch. So like Maya Rudolph is the female lead in that,
Yes.
and then I think it's Dax Shepard who's like the
Jack Shepard
lawyer,
is in it. Yes, he's in it as like one of the
and,
guys. And then
and then like I don't know what like Luke Wilson's up to these days, but like he was big in the early 2000s, and then that like I don't know what he's
a lot of
in.
Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
I was oh
So
right,
he's a little
yeah,
bit like in
true,
that way what wave of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right, yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, he because he was in Old School, and then he was in Idiocracy, and then like he
But then
definitely
he went to like he
changed
was in
his.
like the Royal Tenenbaums, and then he kind of drifted in
Yes.
that direction.
Yeah, I think that's that. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, but yeah, that was surprisingly funny. That was good. I definitely I'm trying to think of more movies. Like I guess that'll be like my 2025 goal is to figure out movies or something easily attainable. I got to start
Well,
thinking of my next goal for 2025.
on Trader Dads in 2025, I'm gonna go back and reread a lot of the classic finance books.
Mm,
And I'm gonna do like I don't know if I'm gonna do one. I don't know if I'm gonna do. I'm not exactly sure how many I'm gonna do yet. But in 2025, I'm gonna do sort of like book reports. Like what do I think about these? A lot of books that you are expected to read in, say, college.
mm,
If you're gonna get like a finance degree or like an economics degree, and you are trying to get a job on Wall Street, like you got to have like a whole like pantheon of books under your belt to really be able to
right.
like chit chat and talk it up. And which was actually some of that was a little bit of the genesis of this podcast was the idea we'd be able to talk about that kind of shit. But
Mm,
so you have, When Genius Fails, and you have like Liar's Poker, and you have some of
mm,
the newer ones are like Flash Boys, and you have The Big Short, the book. Like there's a couple that are really just like, required readings if you're kind of in that world. And so I read a lot of them and say like between the ages of say 20 to 25
right.
when I really didn't have much professional experience. And now I thought to myself, now's about the time where I should really go back and like let me go read some of this stuff again and see like what I really think of it now. Because when you're like 20, 22, you're like, oh, that's just what it is, or that's just
Right.
that
Yeah.
seems cool that they're playing like they're gambling for $100,000 right on the trading floor. Like that seems
Mhm.
amazing. But now as an adult, you're like, what's wrong with these morons?
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's a
Well, no.
terrible idea.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So, the one I guess an example of that is the book Rich Dad Poor Dad
Rich Dad
by
Poor
Robert
Dad is
Kiyosaki.
another good one. Yeah.
Well, so
Well,
like
it's not really quite the same, but it's a good it's well known, but it's not quite the same like Wall
well,
Street.
it's a well-known book. So like when that came out, people were like, "Oh, this is a great book." And then as like time has gone on, people are like, yeah, "This book sucks. This guy's an idiot." like, like,
Yeah, he some of his stuff hasn't aged well.
Yeah.
one of the ones that has aged exceptionally well, I think, is Middle Class Millionaire, or rather, The Millionaire Next Door. The Millionaire Next Door. It was a really really good one about like mental like just screwing your head on straight to like move forward without having to do some of the craziness of say, oh, I IPO'd and made $1 billion. No, it's
Mm.
just they walk through the types of people that find themselves being in a very financially secure position by the time they hit like say their 50s, like who just
Right.
what
It's
are like
it's
straight narrow paths towards
right.
like wealth. And it's the same old shit you hear. It's like, live below your means. A lot of them are like small business owners.
Mhm.
A lot of them have just they say, they have champagne incomes and beer taste, right? Like
Right.
they're not blowing their money on all these depreciating assets. They're just kind of like living their lives and socking it away, and it just accrues over time, and that's just what they do.
Yep.
So, the big news in the journal, the Wall Street Journal, that is, for the layman, a couple weeks, maybe, yeah, it was a couple weeks ago now, is private equity firms are going in and buying up all these like HVAC companies and plumbing companies and little electrical companies. So like, like you get like a father-son electrical company, right? That like the dad started it, the son joined on, and then it's been going for like say like 25 years now. And like the dad wants to retire, and the son's like, I kind of want to do this, but if I could get like a payday, I'll take it. So what's happening is a lot of private equity firms and things have come in and started buying all of them up, and now they are owning them. And so like the dad retires, the son agrees to stay on for X number of years, but they don't own it anymore.
Mm.
They sold the company to this like
Right.
private equity firm. So that's been the new like thing of the day where they're like, oh, you have all these like, oh, it's like a plumber from the Midwest. Now he's worth like $6 million because he like
Mm.
sold his company. So a lot of the boomer generation are getting out of it, and they're not just giving it to their sons or their daughters or whatever. They're
Right.
selling it off to private equity firms, which is quite the 2024 story, I think.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's been going on.
That's
Um,
crazy.
Yeah,
That's
what
the
it says to me though is that this is something that has been happening like the boomers inheritance to millennials or Gen Z or whomever, right? So you get all these people who are retiring and then they're trying to do all the tax planning and everything to hand over whatever is left over. A component of that is like all these small business owners. So a great example of it, which I heard, was you remember like Chinese restaurants, Chinese food restaurants.
Mhm.
There used to be a lot of them in like strip malls and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like you just go to a strip mall and there might be like a Chinese food restaurant and thing. You get like your fucking General Tso's chicken and pork fried rice. There's fewer of them now. Just generally speaking, there's fewer of them. And
Yep. Yep.
so what's happened is the family comes over and they say we're gonna open a Chinese food restaurant to like be like that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna run a Chinese food. We're like restaurant. The kids grow up and go to college, and they were the first generation to go to college. And so like then there, some of them just go to like whatever school, and some of you then there's also the Tiger Mom people who their kids go wherever. Point is, those kids come out with a college degree and then they go get a job at somewhere else, or whatever, bank, healthcare firm, pharmaceutical
Right.
firm, whatever, wherever they end up. Well, then there's nobody to take over the Chinese food restaurant.
Right.
So all the Chinese food restaurants of like a generation ago have slowly gone downhill and they've
So
closed.
so what you're
Like I
saying
retire and I'm done.
is that there's an opportunity in the market to
Well,
to
like
open.
down by me, there's only one Chinese food restaurant, and it's very like middle to high end. It's like it's closer to PF Chang's than it is to a strip mall.
Yeah, you want the down and dirty fried rice. That's what you want.
I'm not
You
saying I
want
want it. I'm saying it's harder to come by.
well, okay. So that brings up two things. Yes, the generational gap where somebody else they're not passing it down to the next generation is one aspect of it. But then two, do you think consumer tastes have changed where you don't necessarily want that? You want something a little more high end, and that's also driving demand
Might
down,
be
which
some
is
of that
also
as well. It might be some of that as well.
yeah.
I mean, but like Panda Express still exists in malls.
Well, first
Pretty
of all, you
close
got to
to,
find a mall.
huh?
First of all, you got to find a mall.
That's true.
Yeah.
The
So
malls will still
yeah.
exist. Things are changing. I think
Yeah.
a lot of it, but anyway, the point of it though is that you're seeing this big boomer to millennial or Gen Z inheritance transfer, but it's happening in a slightly different way, and a lot of private equity is getting on the boat. What I think is going to happen with the HVAC example is that they're going to own all these things for like maybe 5 or 6 years, and they're going to go under the name of like it's going to be like, oh, like Joe and Johnny's plumbing company, and it's like father and son electricity, whatever. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to 5 to 10 years from now, you're going to see all of these public holding companies for generic brand HVAC. So they're going to take like 26 HVAC companies that they have through like 6 states in the Midwest. They're going to just throw them all under one holding company and then like standardize it all, and it's going to turn into like a franchised brand thing. I think that's what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
that's probably what's going to happen. Yeah,
You're not gonna have, and it'll probably be, and then as soon as it starts to happen, you're gonna find all these like car washes are gonna like all the
mhm.
mom and pop car washes will gone, or like auto mechanics, all the mom and pop auto mechanics are gonna be gone, and then they're gonna slowly turn into just like more Mavises or more like
Yeah,
whatever.
isn't that called late stage capitalism? You just the consolidation of all. Isn't that what that's called?
Yeah, but that I'm not saying what you call it is not so relevant as to for me at least when it's like I think that's what we're gonna be seeing.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's trending towards consolidation, which is not necessarily good for the free market because you're going to end up getting what's the word? Not monopolies, but like 3 or 4 companies that run everything in the same
Oligopoly.
vein. Yeah, yeah. So like that's what's going to end up. That's what it's all trending towards. Like and it's
Yes. Yeah,
and
generally.
and that's the problem is that so then all of a sudden if you have 4 companies that do all of let's say the auto work in the country, then crap, that sucks. You go to company A or company B, and then that's just not it's not great.
I mean,
It
well, we have
sucks.
that with a lot of things right now. I mean, you can only really have two phones. You have a Google phone or you have an Apple phone.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm not saying I'm not an advocate for or against. Well, I don't know. I never really thought about it to be honest in that regard. But that does doesn't sit well with me.
You go
That's
burn your
unfortunate though.
phone now?
No, not necessarily the phone stuff, but but at least there's multiple carriers that you could choose from. But it is trending towards less and less. So
Infrastructure is a little different. Infrastructure is and utilities operate a little bit differently. They operate cheaper
right,
at scale.
mm,
So that's a
well,
little like nobody's gonna like if you say Verizon versus AT&T and you could throw like let's throw Sprint and T-Mobile into for just the example, right? Like if you like all of the smaller ones like Metro PCS and some of those guys,
mm.
all
Well, don't they
those
run on the networks
they
that
do. They run on the
like
Verizon. Yeah, they just pay Verizon to use the network, and Verizon just
right,
says, "Okay, you do the work of getting all the people. You just pay us money to use our equipment." But
yeah,
like when you have the utility, and we've talked about this here before about we've used the fiber optic cables as an
right,
example with
yeah,
Cisco, and we compared that to AI as well with the AI chip designs. Well, cell phone carrier networks are in the same vein as say railroad networks, where nobody is going to just like nobody's going to do the capex to make some sort of big like cell phone tower. They're not going to put up
hmm
like a cell phone tower right next to the other cell phone tower to
right,
compete. Like it's just not going to happen. It doesn't make
right.
any sense. So when it comes to utilities and such,
Well, yeah, you have
it's
to know
not
they have
it's a different
infrastructure,
kind of economic theory behind it.
but consumer goods is completely different.
Consumer goods, well, yeah, it depends. You get into more like just the microeconomics of life,
Yeah,
but
but yeah, I think that yeah that's interesting to bring up the Chinese food thing. Now that you mention it, yes, that is accurate because there are a couple of Chinese food places that have closed around me, and that probably is the case. Yeah, that's
you get a
something
lot of people
that
because you
is
get like COVID would have done a lot of them in. But COVID may have done them in not so much because of COVID. COVID might have done them in because it's like I'm 62. What the fuck am I doing anymore? Like
right,
screw it. I'm just closing it. Like my kid is
right,
off working at like my kid is a he's a banking analyst at Goldman. Like I did my
right,
job. Like
right,
I
right.
fuck it.
Yeah,
Like
they made
like
yeah
I'm just
yeah. I'm not
closing
I'm
the
not going
damn
to slave
restaurant. Not
7 days
that's
a week for 10 hours a day making
yeah.
egg rolls, in a hot kitchen in the heat of July for, you know, yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So, huh, yeah, wow, that's makes me want Chinese food.
Well,
It's supposed to
maybe we can go get some Chinese food. Christmas is coming, and Chinese
Christmas is
food
coming.
for Christmas. That's the way to go.
So that is something that we do on Christmas Eve.
We go Christmas Day.
We go rah 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 rah.
Right, right, right. Well, I mean, and on that note, we have the leg lamp hat in the Trader Dad's store.
Oh yeah, very nice.
The
Yes,
Christmas
yes,
collection for Trader Dad's available now. We have all the ironic dad hats sitting out there.
very nice. Yeah, very
My
exciting.
favorite,
Very exciting stuff.
my favorite was the underrated mistletoe. Like it's a baseball cap with a mistletoe on it. Done.
I did notice that was good. The one hat that I don't think you have in there anymore was the triple Qs.
Oh, Triple Q has still up for sale. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was good.
It should still be available. Yeah,
That's okay.
that's QQQ for the
Yeah,
Nasdaq 100 ETF.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I didn't forget our Jewish friends. We have the Hanukkah hat for
yeah,
with the menorah.
yeah, very nice.
So
Yeah,
we have the
so
entire Christmas collection now available
yeah,
up on Trader Dad's store.
I'm very very excited for for the for the new format and for things to come. That's exciting. It
Yes.
seems like there's a lot of exciting developments in the Trader Dad community. So it's exciting. I'm excited to be a part of it. I really hope that I give the fans what they want.
I hope you do too, because that was the
Hope
whole
you do.
reason for this.
Yeah,
All right, but yeah, I think we can both agree that this was a good freeform month, good
yeah,
example of setting a tone rather than a content. But
yeah.
all right, sir, we are coming up on
But
time,
so
so
so so so I guess I have one request. If there's any movies that you request that you think we should watch, drop it in the comments so we can take a look at that and see what we can do.
well,
See
what
if we
we
can.
need is people can email to so we get some stuff from the mailbag occasionally. In fact, I actually got a good movie recommendation a while back from the mailbag for what was it? Um, I'm blanking on it now. Shit.
Blank Man.
No, that would be a good one. It was I'll post it in the end. I can't think of it now, but it's on the tip of my tongue. But
Screw it.
yes,
Do it in post.
no.
No, but
Uh,
seriously though, if anybody watching has any comments or any movies that they think would be a good classic movie to watch, or like either a modern classic that you don't think that anybody's seen, post it because I'm interested in trying to compile a list of things that we should, at least things that I may not have watched, and that great classic movies that we could talk about or at least reference or at least give our take on. I was listening to a show and they were doing kind of a similar thing and they were saying that they were doing movie reviews on movies that came out and they did Smokey and the Bandit.
mm,
And he did a review on Smokey and the Bandit and listening to the review had not watching Smokey and the Bandit. That is the most ridiculous movie in the world. The 70s cinema was
70s
a
or
wild
something.
time.
Yeah.
70s cinema
I
was a
mean
wild time.
they built a whole development of houses in eastern Pennsylvania for you to move into.
That's true. That's the 70s were crazy. You know what we should do? We should watch Serpico.
I got a Serpico look just last week when I was at the barber.
Yeah, I got one the other day. I got a Serpico question.
It's still hanging there 50 years later. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
another Al Pacino movie for that
Al
matter.
Pacino. Mm.
So
Hoo-ah!
wow. All right. That could be your catchphrase. You can just say hoo-ha.
Yeah,
Uh
no, I'm not gonna steal. I got to come up with something better.
yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening in. This is more of a deliberate effort to show off a little bit more of the new format. We're going to be a little bit more quick paced, a little bit more casual. We're going to start to see a few more recurring guests rather than a new different person every month. But we do still plan to have some good guests on over time. So that's not going away. It's just going to fit in as it works best for everyone. So just remember, Substacks drop every Tuesday. Follow us on Instagram. Instagram is getting to be where it's at. I've really started to hone in on the Instagram feed. We also have the Trader Dads store on Etsy. We're on X, Pinterest as well, and YouTube Shorts. So, Thomas, do you have anything else you want to say before we sign off for the month?
Hooah!
All right, there you have it. Thank you.